Hello? Can you hear me? Because I can't hear you at all. No. Hello?
How about now?
And
How about
yes,
now?
now. Yep.
You know what? I did have the mic muted from
Ah,
previous. Hmm. Okay. Well,
that
we
would be
made it.
why.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it wasn't just me talking to the camera, and no one would ever know that, or I would never know that nobody's hearing anything I'm saying. That would have been awful.
Or hilarious.
Oh, it would. Yeah. Well, I guess it wouldn't have been any worse than any of the other shows.
So today's
Yes.
your birthday?
Today is, and then yeah,
Happy
well,
birthday.
Friday. Thank you. And then tomorrow being the weekend, we're just gonna eat. But I had COVID, so my taste buds were completely out of whack, and
Ooh.
it's kind of like somebody who's like hard of hearing. They can hear you, but it's like you're like way far away, like you're like way far away, and they have to like listen really hard. So like my taste I can taste things, but it's like, 50%. It's like kind of a far away, distant taste. So things that like a craving for like, oh, I could really go for, and then I taste it, I'm like, eh, it doesn't taste like how I'm used to. But certain things I can still taste, but other favorite foods hasn't come back yet. So it's
Interesting.
kind of sucky, yeah. But I like lost like something like 10 pounds or something like crazy
Oh, wow.
because I haven't wanted to eat because there's no like taste.
Hmm.
So it's like I eat like one thing a day. But
I wish
I
I could
feel
do that.
great. I got like all this energy um from getting over it. So it was is like a combination of just sitting around and just wanting to accomplish things. So now I'm like, go, 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 go. I have all this energy. So it's like really weird because I'm usually worn out and aren't doing things. But so that's a good thing.
Nice.
Yeah. What's going on with you? Is your beard new?
It's
You
just
always had
bigger.
your beard. It's just bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Yet
Yeah.
haven't
No.
been trimming it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's more prominent. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
It's like,
shaved my head when I went to Hawaii. So
yeah.
but
I
now
was
it's grown.
wondering if it was shorter than it usually is. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it looks good. Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Thanks.
I know, like when you email me, there's an icon on your email that looks like when you were like a teenager or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah,
always
I was like
cracks me up. I'm like, who is this?
yeah, I was like 19 when I took that picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've actually been shaving more than I usually do, so I got a different look too. Um, yeah, I just been I've been working on trying to finish Crazy Nine. I mean, it's finished. It's just I've been going all over all 60 pages to like do highlights and some shading here and there. But
And that's your superhero drugs comic book.
yeah, so it's like a little thing like that times 60. It's like taking forever. But every time I finish a chapter, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm motivated now, and the trading cards are being produced, and
Nice.
so all of that, everything has to be done for me to start shipping them out. So it's a process.
Nice. I've been working on some new Black Blossom trading cards
Okay,
and
yeah, I
yep.
seen a couple of them.
And I'm working on the Black Blossom annual #1,
Yeah.
uh, which once that's finished, we'll be able to do the first graphic novel, which will be issues 1 through 6, plus the annual, plus that little 4-page origin story we produced for the Representin' book.
Okay, cool. So that'll be in the
The graphic novel.
oh, okay. Oh, in the graphic novel, yeah.
Yes.
Um, with the now will the annual? No, right?
The 4-page story won't be in the annual, but the
No,
annual will be in the graphic novel. Yeah,
the annual will be in the graphic. So in the trade will be issues what?
1 through 6 plus the
Mhm.
annual plus the 4-pager
That's a lot.
from
Yeah.
Represent. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's basically everything. Sometimes, I mean, I would say all the times they leave the annuals out in a mainstream. Yeah.
not all the time, but
No.
this is kind of it's kind of pivotal to the plot.
Oh,
You
it
you
totally
can
is. Yeah.
you can go through without reading it, but it's going to add a
Yeah.
lot to it
Yeah.
if you read the annual. So yeah, it's going in. Like one of my favorite annuals ever is in Ultimate Spider-Man. I think it might have been
Huh.
either the first or second annual, where it's all about Peter finding out that he wants to date Shadowcat from X-Men,
Oh,
um,
weird.
because he just broke up with Mary Jane because she keeps making stupid decisions and she's going to get herself killed. And then he meets
Mhm.
Shadowcat, who loves Spider-Man anyway, and she's like, I can't get hurt
No,
because everything
you're
goes
not.
through
You
me.
mean Shadowcat from X-Men, not Black Cat, right?
Right, Shadowcat from X-Men, yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's Ultimate Universe, but it was great.
Oh.
And
Hmm.
yeah. It was like a whole, exercise issue just focusing on them getting together, that's a lot of time to take out just for that if you were doing it in regular issue. But because it was in an annual, you could take that time.
It
And
always seemed like the annuals were like, there's a writer who has a blank story and it just doesn't fit in current storyline, so we're just going to do an annual and put it in there.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what a typical annual would be. But
Mm.
for that one, Bendis wrote that one too. I'm like, he wrote everything Ultimate
Mm.
Spider-Man. So,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
so I'm kind of taking a page out of that. But future annuals, like I'm thinking, like for my annuals are just going to be like supplemental material. So like the next annual number 2, I'm thinking it'll be like flashbacks, or
Mm.
we'll spend time with the side characters that don't get enough, screen time in the normal issues. But that's far away. I've written up
Into a
to
Christmas special.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and actually, I am going to do a Christmas issue. It's just going to be in a
Mm.
regular.
Okay.
But yeah, I took vacation to write a lot more Black Blossom, so now I'm up to like 17.
I know, yeah.
Yeah,
Going
and I've been
crazy.
producing a lot of the covers too, so
Hmm.
people can see kind of what is coming
Hmm.
up ahead of time, so that they can hopefully be interested in Kickstarter or Patreon to make these issues come out faster.
I know you
Um,
can't talk about future characters, but there's this one female character with like purple hair. She's kind of cool. She seems like she's a normal, normal human, but um, especially that cover you showed me made me like it's very like memorable. That makes you go, huh? She's cool.
yeah,
Like I want to
I
know what her
I can
deal is.
share about that. That's Mood Ring, and she has a ring that allows her to affect people's emotions.
So we maybe be talking about two different characters. There's a cover with a certain male character in a suit, and there's a girl on the ground, and he's
Oh
shielding
yeah, yeah,
her.
yeah.
That's
Hmm.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay, that's Skylar. They're gonna show up in issue 8, I believe,
Mm,
8 or 9, one of those.
hmm.
So issue 8 is halfway illustrated. It's over halfway illustrated.
Well,
Issue 7 is completely illustrated. It just needs to be colored.
hmm.
And obviously, you can go on Starcross and you can get issues 1 through 6 now
Hmm.
fully completed. So
Yeah.
seven's done, eight's halfway done, and the annual's halfway done. So things are happening, things are coming out. And again, if
I,
you would like to support me on Patreon, you can make things happen faster. So
I had an idea. If you want to post it, I can post it. Your Patreon link. I don't have. Um,
okay.
I had an idea of like possibly doing like a teaming up with you on a pinup book
Ooh, I like
because
that.
we have so many pinups. Um, someone I know did a crossover, and he had a cover of his character and someone else's character, but I don't think it was a pinup book, but it just it it made me it made me think of that would be neat because you have a whole bunch of pinups, I have a whole bunch of pinups, and it could even alternate like page on the left is yours, page on the right is mine, and just like
Sure. I mean, all my pinups are basically just my covers. Honestly.
no, you had from our pinup contest too.
Oh yes, that's
Yeah,
right. We had a bunch of artists submit pinups. You're right,
yep,
and they did some
yep.
awesome Black Blossom stuff.
I mean, you'd only need
Yes.
half a normal issues amount, you know, so maybe like 10 pinups.
Here, let me. I can pull up some of the
And
art that
I
we were
don't know
talking
if
about.
it's that I don't know if pinup books are that popular. To me as an artist, that's something I would want.
Right, and
So
that's not something I typically go for, but I'm
yeah,
happy to
but
produce as much
artists and
content as.
aspiring artists that are fans gravitate towards that because maybe they just like the look, so they just want more of that. And pinup books are something I always bought as an artist. Let's see.
There you go. So that's issue 15, a variant
Mhm.
cover done by Gary, who does the Killer of Kings book for Starcross.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I've got like up to 17 written, so I'm already going ahead and producing as many covers as I can to generate interest and tease people about the upcoming stories. So that's number
Hmm.
15. Let me find the other one you were talking about. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, I don't think I've ever bought like a pinup book before.
Like I used to buy them from like Wizard magazine, where they would just have poster issues. Um, if I've gone to a convention, I've I'll go, ooh, this indie artist is really good, but I don't know what his stories are about. But
Hmm.
he has like a pinup book. I'm already a fan of his art, so I'm gonna buy it because I just want a whole bunch of samples of his art.
There you
But yeah,
go.
that's the one I was talking about. That girl's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's issue 10, the main cover for issue 10.
Yeah.
And that's Skylar, and the new hero is Mighty Mercury. And as
I
you can
keep
see,
calling him Max Mercury. I keep saying that, and I'm
Max
wrong.
Mercury is a character
Yeah,
from The Flash,
I
and I
know.
love
It
him.
keeps making
Yes.
me. I just instantly say that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the mighty part.
Yes, Mighty Mercury. And he is, as you can see, he might have some ties to the Black Blossom
Mhm.
as well, just by how he looks. So you'll have to wait and see.
Now, is his face being hidden? Because that's the only time I've only seen pictures of him with the shield down. Is that like a secret thing?
No,
Or
no.
no?
You'll be able to. He gets introduced before he gets the costume, and he gets introduced in issue
Oh,
8. Issue 8, he'll
I
show
think I
up.
may
So
have seen them then. Are they like either brother or
no,
sister or what? No. Okay,
no,
because
no,
I
no.
there
That's
were some characters that were escaping from some ship, and that's all I'm gonna say. And I
yeah,
was like,
that's in issue
oh,
7,
unrelated,
and yeah. Well,
unrelated.
it's
Well,
related,
everything's
but it's not
related,
those
but
characters. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's cool. I
Thanks.
know.
That's by
One of them.
that's covers
Mhm.
by James Hill,
Nice.
and he's a great artist. He submitted some stuff for that art contest. That's how I found out about him, and he's been doing a lot of the
Hmm.
covers for me. It's been great.
How did you share that screen?
There's a little share button here at the bottom.
Okay.
You see it next to the Leave Studio
I'm
button?
gonna check it out as soon as I find my thing that I was gonna share. Um, yeah, because
Yeah.
usually when somebody wants to screen share, they have to hit that, and then I have to allow them to. But you were able to. I think it was a little easier.
Well, no, I was
I'm
able
gonna
to
go
queue it up, but you're the person who had to share it on the actual screen because you're the host of the
share.
stream.
Yeah, and then was it share screen?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of
Shoom.
StreamYard hosting for my podcast Wow, that's a lot of tabs.
Sorry, is it off now?
No, it's working.
Is it working? So this
Yeah.
was I've been talking to Luke Stone,
Hmm.
who just recovered from major COVID, being in the hospital for like, it was something crazy like 2 months or something
Mm.
insane like that. But it's pretty cool that he's like, I'm like, well, let me know when you can talk and every, because he's still under um hospital care and stuff. And he's like, oh, I can. And then so he was able to, and you know that, but
Yeah.
I'm just telling everybody else. Um, so I was like, yeah, I'm working on that crossover. So this is the cover um, for Luke Stone's hybrids character Trash Man, and my character Starstruck from God, and then a mystery villain back there, which is actually a character I made up in high school. He was actually Starstruck's like original villain,
Cool.
and I decided to bring him back because he kind of fits perfectly. So um, I can't wait to. This book is all drawn, and I'd say it's more than halfway inked. But I'm inking it and coloring it, so it's like a process. But
Nice.
like I said, it's done, it's written, it's all ready to go. I just have to tie it all up with the art. So yeah, that's one of the books I want to jump to at some point soon. Um, let's see, stop
And you're
sharing.
working on a cover for me for the
Yes,
annual.
it's actually on my thing, but I don't want to show it
Okay.
because I don't like showing it when it's like really um, in its stages of development. I'd rather show it a little farther along. Um, but it's pretty
No
cool.
problem.
It's it's all laid out. Um, I think the wings are going to be the last thing I add. Um,
Okay.
but it's got some nods to some other covers that are lightly influenced, because I'm like, how am I going to draw that? Oh, there's that one famous cover that kind of does that. So I kind of did that. Now, one thing I will say, I know you wanted some like scenes from like her life or whatever, but
Uh huh.
he's got 6 wings. So it's like the wings are taking up like all the space on the left and the right. So then I was thinking like, I mean, maybe I could draw them in the wings, these visions that you wanted. I'm like,
Hmm.
because if he didn't have wings, I could easily do like a dissected background where it branches off into different like things. But the character that I'm drawing, he's like, right in the center, and then his wings go out. And I'm like, where would I be putting this except actually in the wings?
So here's some more covers. This is the for covers 7, 8, and 9. Again, 6 is finished and out, and you can buy it now. But 7, 8, 9 are the next ones, and they're like a 3-issue arc. And so you've got all of these here. So this is 7, and there's a new character called the Blue Fox, and that's by James Hill. And then you've got this one where she's holding the cowl to the Blue Fox, and then this one obviously is where we're introducing the Mighty Mercury character.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, I like him a lot. I liked him right from the get go because he was like, it seemed like he was and I don't know. So my speculation is like he's like a male counterpart that's more advanced in his knowledge of of that kind of suits technology. And this is just me speculating.
You're
There's no
you're
spoiler.
close.
Yeah,
You're close, but no cigar.
yeah.
So you'll have to see. Haha.
And I know it always remind I think it was in um Young Justice season 2 where Blue Beetle's
Mm.
alien race came in. It just it gives me that same like, hey, I got this weird suit that I don't know how to work, and it's I guess from some alien race, and then that whole like almost species or it doesn't have to be the same species because technically anyone could wear those those beetle suits and they
Hmm.
all come and you're like, oh man, like this is really bad because these or what are they called, the reach or something like
The
that.
reach, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought those were really cool. I know that Blue Beetle gets a lot of hate from people who like the classic Blue Beetle, but I view them as completely different characters.
Oh, for
They
sure.
just happen to share the same name. I think it was a mistake to necessarily say, okay, now he's the new person who has the mantle of Blue Beetle. I'm like, it's a completely different, obviously, it's a different human because there's different Blue Beetles through the years, but it's a completely different concept.
Yeah,
It'd be like if a character was called, "Oh, this is the new Green Arrow," and he's like an alien from another planet. And you're like, Green
yeah.
Arrow? Like
Well,
that's what he is now?"
sometimes that's great. Sometimes it's fun to have like a character that has the same namesake, but it's like a completely different spin, on that namesake. Like, have you read the new Damage book?
I never have.
Um,
Isn't
man,
that Guy
that
Gardner? No. Am
no,
I
no,
way
no, no.
off?
So
Then I have no idea what that
yeah,
is.
no, so the first Damage is like this teenage guy who can like make explosions, right? And so the second
Oh,
Damage is um it's basically just the Hulk. It's the Hulk but DC, and it's fantastic. So it's
I
completely
did get that. It was a brand new character, right?
yeah, uh-huh.
I own number one.
Yeah, the whole series is great. It's very
Yeah.
good. It's
Once you
it's like
said, yeah.
it's a spin on the Hulk concept because it's also ties in with
Yeah.
Hour Man from the JSA, where he can turn into the Hulk for an hour, and then he has to wait 23 hours before he can do it
Yeah.
again. So it's like adds a
Yeah.
little bit of strategy to the Hulk concept. I kind of like it.
Interesting. Um, I was thinking of you because I was watching Superman season 2, episode 1. Yeah, I was worried because one, I was worried they were gonna like. Yeah, I was just worried that it was all of a sudden gonna go downhill and just turn into garbage, um, just for no reason. I just was worried, because it's like
Mm,
when something's going good, you're like, oh, I hope they stay on the path and
yeah,
don't go, hey, let's just change everything. And they're like,
yeah.
no. So I was worried. There was a little, there's always the his son's drama. I don't I don't mind the drama when it's like within the family because I like seeing how Clark handles problems with his family because he can handle, picking up a giant nuclear sub and putting it somewhere and then like, he can handle like ridiculous problems, but then like when his wife is mad at him and his kids are having issues, then he's like, and
Yeah.
he doesn't like know, he's like, I'm trying here, and like that's actually the cool part, and that's how they solve the problem of he can do everything and anything, so there's no like problems are like a
Well,
yawn,
and
like
that's been the case since the 1950s because
yeah,
in the 1950s they made him so powerful, like there's nothing that he can't do. But so
yeah,
then they made everything about his women problems.
okay,
It's like, okay, this issue, am I trying to date Lois or am I trying to date Lana or am I trying to date Lori? Or they all are trying to date me at the same time, and what am I supposed to do now? And so that's the fun stuff from the 50s. And then in the 90s they did, they depowered him a little bit and they gave him problems like he lives next door to a wife beater, and what is he supposed to do if she doesn't want help? She's saying
mhm.
she doesn't want help, but he still has to sit there next door with his super hearing and listen to that crap. What
Wow.
is he supposed to do? Yeah, so it's some
Well,
great great
I think it
storytelling.
was a perfect idea. I never thought it was that great in the comics, but totally in the show, making him a dad. And I mean, you can tell he's a younger dad just because of the way he handles things is kind of funny, but it's great because of what he like draws from, how he was talking to them about what happened in the first episode. It was like I could have seen how they would have made it like the modern cool dad on how he would handle things, and you'd be like, what? But they're still making it very traditional values. And when Lois gets upset about things, I mean, it makes sense, and it's things you don't see on modern shows. They got to do it like the new cool 2022 way of talking to kids, or talking about issues in general, but they keep it like old school. It's
Well, and I
very
think
neat.
that's a very true to character for Clark because he grew up, he's a goody two shoes,
Of course, but they could
like
have done it. They could have changed it on the
yeah,
show.
absolutely. Like they
Yeah.
could have done it like Smallville.
Mm,
And
mhm.
but I like how they, Clark has no concept of doing shenanigans and disobeying
Which
his
is great.
parents.
Which
Yeah,
is
but then
hilarious.
Lois is like, yeah, they get it
Yeah.
after
Well,
me,
that's
like,
because
and he
yeah.
has no experience, so it's
Right.
great that he's kind of out of his depth in that area.
I like that.
And yeah,
Looks like my buddy Antonio is here. It looks like his video cam is working now. Let's see if I can add him. Hey, Antonio. Hey, are you there? Can
hello.
you hear us? Hmm.
Well, there's his icon.
Maybe, yeah. Uh,
It's a good
I'll
looking
come.
icon.
I'll come back to you. If you can get your sound working, he's got to be able to hear us. So maybe he's in the background working on it. I'll bring him back in maybe a few minutes. Um, looks like James Hill says, "What's up?"
Hey, James, thank you for all the awesome work on all of the covers, man. We've already been showing
Ooh.
them off. So,
Which ones did he do?
he's done. Let me look here. He's done 7, 8, and 9, and I believe 10 also.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, and
Are those a lot of the
that's all the Blue Fox stuff.
Blue Fox? Yeah, I was gonna
Mhm.
say that's cool.
Yep, and he did an awesome pinup of the Black Blossom in the contest also, and I think I want to try to use that
Oh, really?
for a cover down the line. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, Antonio was saying that he can't hear us.
No.
Um, can't hear you. Um, so, but we have to be functioning because you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Um,
James just said no problem after I said thanks, so he hears us too. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and James or anybody else, you guys can hear us, right? I'm gonna assume so if you say.
respond in the
Um,
comments.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, talking about Superman, um, I I really loved when they, and I didn't think I would. I
Mm.
loved when they gave him a son, John Kent, in the comic books.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
the way they introduced him and the way they did it, until they aged him up, and then I was
Yeah,
less
yeah.
thrilled because the
Um,
stuff that they were having with him and
mm,
the problems that
mm,
Lois and Clark were navigating through were just great. And then his friendship with Damian, and
Robin, yeah.
having Batman and Superman be kind of like new dads together in like swap, going back and forth there. That was great stuff.
Yeah, I liked the what did they call the super did they call it some Superman and Robin? Was it like a
Super
they didn't have
Sons.
a yeah. It was great. I liked them. They're very likable. I mean, Damien's like a completely different,
Well, he's
from
the
Clark's
worst,
son.
but
I love him.
he's
I love him.
yeah, he's much better with John than without John, because and I love it how he always refers to John as his sidekick. Um, and
But
John
I
just is
love that
so
he's
innocent and
so
lighthearted, he doesn't even care. He's
I
like, whatever.
love I love Damien, that he's so like arrogant and pompous. Like he's like a he's like a wealthy, you know, well, Batman's wealthy, but he's
It's
like
Goku and Vegeta is what it is.
it's like I love like certain scenes. Like, I mean, I don't know which books I'm drawing from, but like when he was at the Batman's mansion, he probably not now, but he originally just treated Alfred like a servant. He's like, servant,
Yeah,
get me my shoes. And
yeah,
he's like, he doesn't care about like lower people. And I found that very endearing because it was such a big departure from other Robins that it was interesting. Plus, he's like extremely deadly. I think Batman had to teach him how not to just instantly kill people.
yeah,
But I mean, that was because of Ra's al Ghul, right? I mean, that was because of
yeah. Because he's raised
yeah,
by the League of Assassins.
yeah. So I mean, and plus, I mean, he was like other people were trained there, but he was raised there, so it's like that's all he knew. But I never understood why he cared about Batman if he was League of Assassin.
Batman's his dad.
Yeah, but like, why didn't he like value Ra's al Ghul more than Bruce Wayne? Like, why
Oh,
wasn't
because
he
his
taught to like
mom.
just hate him? Like,
Oh, because his mom dropped him off there and surprised Batman's like, "Hey, guess
yeah,
what? You
I
have a son."
remember that. I remember
And
that.
and so basically, he's just honoring his mother because
Mm.
she's and she's like,
You
"You
would
need to
just
learn
think like
from."
he would like hate Batman and just be
No,
League of
because his mom.
Assassin, you know?
No, because his mom told him, she's like, "This is a man worthy of your respect.
Right,
He has defeated my father.
right,
Like you can learn a lot from him."
right.
And that's why
And
she,
that's what makes him such an
yeah,
interesting character. So many layers on that, and
yeah,
I just
because
like
then
his
eventually,
attitude.
obviously, he goes over to Batman's ideology instead of the League of
Hmm.
Assassins ideology,
Yeah,
which is great.
yeah, yeah. I like him, and I was liking Jonathan Kent. I don't know why they aged him up. It wasn't necessary because I wanted him to just stay at that age like forever. Like just
Yeah.
it was
And
cool.
that's what they should do, and
Quick,
I hope that they eventually
go back.
uh, revert. The reason that they did it is a dumb reason by my
I know.
favorite comic book author,
Yeah.
which is Brian Michael Bendis just said, "Yeah, I don't like to do the same thing other people were doing,"
Mm,
so he just made it different for the sake of different. Um, so not a great reason,
like
and
I
also because he loves the Legion of Superheroes. He got to write the Legion of Superheroes, and he wanted to have a Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes because it's always better when you have Superboy in the Legion of Superheroes. So he wanted to age him up for that reason, also.
I mean they did that with like Supergirl. They used her in there a lot.
In Legion,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. And she's gone through so many changes. I don't even want to get into that. Let me
Yeah,
just see if Antonio, can you have voice yet? You have
I
sound?
can hear you. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
hey, yes. Can you
yay,
hear
we
us?
can hear you.
Cool.
Awesome. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm just getting over Unicron, a month removed from that.
Yeah.
Nice.
But that was a while ago, no? Or was it recent?
Yeah,
I
it was about
forgot.
a month ago.
Oh,
It
recent.
happened
A
around
month.
Thanksgiving, and
Yeah.
I was doing all right for about a week, and then I couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
So,
that's awful. But no,
yeah,
that's not good. But I mean, mine was really recent. But I know other people had it way worse. I think we had like the OG COVID. Um but like I was talking about, Luke Stone was in the hospital for like 2 months, and we didn't know if he was going to make it. It was just so crazy. But I'd say stay try to stay out of the hospital if possible, because a lot of people don't get out of there once they get in. It was very scary.
my doctor told me that I came in at just the right time,
Okay.
um, because I knew something was wrong, and I didn't want to take the chance. I think a lot of people wait too long,
Mm-hmm.
because I did have the pneumonia.
Oh,
And it was in my
whoa.
lungs, but they said I came at the right time. And they said that I was only in there for 2 days, and I
Okay,
went
okay.
home after that.
Oh,
So
good,
so I
good.
mean, God is good.
Yeah.
And,
You know,
so that pretty much was it. I mean, I didn't lose my sense of taste, but my sense of taste got scrambled.
Yeah.
It's like things that were things that were kind of salty were super salty,
super salty. Yep.
Huh.
or like things that were like tangy tasted like sugar water.
Yeah, just like ugh,
Nice.
it's weird.
Interesting.
No, I had that same thing.
My
but,
wife and I just
yeah.
cannot seem to catch this thing.
That's
Like,
good.
there's no way we should not have caught it at
Yeah,
this point.
Well, look,
But-
I mean, how long has it been going? And this is our first time that we caught it. You know,
Well,
me and
this
my
is the
family,
first time I've
so-
been sick since 2019
See,
at
Yep.
all.
So it must have just been finally in our area. I mean, well, Evan, you're in
Indiana.
Indiana.
Yep.
So Antonio's here in Wisconsin and Milwaukee with.
Well, we've had all sorts of people around us get it. Like all our friends have got it.
Yep.
My whole family's got it. We just can't.
Well, like
get it.
I said,
we just took a plane trip to Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, like we just
Yep.
can't get it.
Well, like we never stopped going to church. We're shaking hands, hugging people, going see whoever we wanted, going to conventions, and just like I'm like, everybody's gonna get it, but I never got it, and then just randomly, I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. I still have a residual cough, but
Me too.
yeah, they say that like lasts for a while or something like that.
Yeah, they told me for me. I think it's for me. It's kind of a personal thing. I kind of get the post nasal drip whenever
Okay.
I've been really, really sick.
Yep.
And that's what's causing my cough. They just gave me some Flonase, which is like some saline spray in your nose, whatever.
Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
it's
you can buy it
also-
over the counter.
Yeah, I have some like I have a whole bunch of different ones, but like because I'm always a person who blows their nose all the time. But like I think if I it's almost like I don't need to cough, but like mentally I feel like coughing and then I cough. So it's not like I'm hacking anything up or anything. It's like I feel like I'm running out of
That's what they
air.
that's that post COVID cough. They said
That's what it is. Yeah. That's good. Like when I hear other people that have it too, then I don't feel like I got something weird or whatever. But
no.
yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but did you you mentioned conventions? Well, what conventions has you guys been to lately?
Well, actually, me and Evan have been at his Indiana Con.
Okay.
And
the Hall of Heroes.
It was actually a really good show, and we did good. So
sold
we were
a ton
really
of
happy
stuff.
about that. Yeah, we actually had run out of books there. We ran out of like 5 different titles.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were like, oh, Evan's like, you have more of these, right? I'm like, that was all I had. And he said that like 5 more times after that. So I was like, sorry, we're out. And then
because it was like all our number ones, so it's like everybody's entry point,
Yeah.
So.
And then we were like, we had like free books we were giving away, and we were running out of those. And yeah, it was crazy. But it was really good. Mentions, you really have to explain to people like hi, I'm Joe, I'm the creator of this book. I drew it and wrote it, or vice versa, or explaining them like we're not just selling comics. We're selling comics that we made, and then they're like, you made these? And then they're interested.
That's what you have to like spell it out.
Walk right by. They just walk right by. Because they're like, okay, they're comics. Like they've passed 100 different vendors that are selling comics, but those people aren't necessarily the artist or the creator or the book, so they see all our books and they're like, okay, I don't know what those are. I'm going to keep walking.
Yeah.
But then they're like, I made these. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know you made these. And then they pick it up and then you can tell them about it. And they're like, well, this guy is the guy who made it. So I'm going to buy. I don't know. It worked, but you have to spell it out. And a lot of people are there and they know what a Batman comic is and they know what a Superman comic is. And then they see your comics and they're like, I don't know who that character is, so I'm just going to walk on by.
Mhm.
But if you say I'm the artist, I'm the writer creator, then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Well, now I want to buy this. It's just a weird thing. And if you don't do that, you're missing out on all these people who would be buying your stuff.
Well, I can attest to that because I I think it was in November. I did the Midwest Gaming Classic,
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
and I also did the Milwaukee Comic Con and State Fair.
Yep.
Um, between those two shows, I made more money than I've made in all the shows I've done combined for the past 10 years.
Now, is that because you
Wow.
did something different, or
I don't know. I think I maybe because I was a little bit more engaging with the
yeah?
customers that were coming past my table. I was more
Mm.
vocal. I had music going.
Hmm.
Um, Now the Midwest Gaming Classic was a little bit different
That's a
because
whole other thing. Yeah.
right where they had me sitting was around a lot of cool stuff. Like the guy, the voice, like across from me was like the voice actors from major cartoon shows and stuff like that. So like across from me, they had the guy that did that does the announcements for NBA Jam.
Huh.
But the guy's like, he's on fire. He's that
Nice.
kind of
Where
he was right across from me, and he was doing all those taglines and stuff. It's like he's in the lane, boom shakalaka.
Yeah.
It was cool, and
Nice.
and then across from him, he had people that were doing like voice actors for like Nick cartoons and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of traffic where I was.
Yeah.
But I don't think I did anything different other than just
Hmm.
talk to more people. And a lot of
Yeah.
people were coming up to my display and it's like, man, that's cool. I like those, I like the colors, I like these characters and stuff. But one thing I did is I took my stuff and I kind of put it to the side.
Hmm.
I took my characters and stuff like that and I kind of put it to the side. I put them at the bottom of my display, and everything that was in plain view was more fan art stuff.
Yeah.
And that was enough to draw people to my table. And then once they're there, they say, "Oh, who's this girl?" And I can say,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is Kayla Amari. This is Natea Steele. This is, these are my characters." And then they say, "I'm gonna buy this along with this picture of Goku or this Ninja Turtle or Optimus Prime picture." So that kind of worked a lot for me was using something else as bait rather than just putting all my stuff up there saying, "Hey, my stuff is the greatest stuff in the whole world."
Mm.
Well, they don't know that. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so I I haven't done fan art for something like 5 years or something like that. I think the last one I made, it was for someone, and then I just kind of I have them, but I never. I did a Baby Yoda, and yes, I still call him Baby Yoda because I don't like his real name. Um, and because I was like, a lot of people aren't drawing him very well. I'm gonna draw him, and I was doing these chibis for Jax, my son, as chibi characters with Bible verses behind them. And this one person was like, "You should do a Baby Yoda and do this," and I made one. But that was the last fan art I've done because what would happen is I would sell a lot of fan art. Like I think I drew a chibi Deadpool that took me like 5 minutes to draw and color, and every time someone walked by my table, they would buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. And I'm like, okay, if my main goal was to come here and sell 20 prints of this picture, which I don't care. I'm not Rob Liefeld. I'm not the creator of that character. I, if I'm just trying to make my money back for the table, okay. But they don't even like ask me anything. They don't look at me. They don't even acknowledge that I'm the artist. They don't ask me any questions about it. They're like, "Oh, that's hilarious. I gotta buy it." And they give me the money and they walk off. And I'm like, I drew that, but they I don't even feel that they bought artwork from me because like I could have just been some random salesman that was selling someone else's art at my
You could have been a
table.
kiosk.
And yeah, and it made me feel, and then I tell my wife, oh yeah, I sold like 20 of those. She's like, wow, that really, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want it at my table anymore. That is just me. It made me feel weird. So I wanted to learn how to, we spend like a year making a book, and it's like there's so much blood and sweat and mental power and drawing on emotions and stories and characters, and they mean something to you. Like my goal was always, can I sell my own stuff? And I know other people, like my friend Archie, who was at that convention too. He was
Yeah, he
like
was
in the
like kitty corner.
hallway.
He was kitty corner behind me.
Yeah, he said, or no, I always say, I'm like, you're like, oh, I, drew this Star Wars thing, drew this, blah, 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 all these different things. I'm like, well, I hope you get back to working on your book, because he's got like 3 or 4 issues of his book, and I'm like, I want to see you work, do your next issue of your book or whatever. And he can sell those too. I mean, he can sell what do they call it, like ice cubes to Eskimos, but but that's just what I like, seeing people create the things that they made up themselves. And so I always go, work on your book, blah blah blah. Now that could be even bad advice if his goal is sell as much as possible at your table. But then, like, why can't I sell like GI Joe action figures at my table? Because then it becomes like a yard sale or something, But I know there's so many talented creators, and that's what we have to contribute. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you could sell anything. You could sell little figurines you paint for like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's coolest to sell something that only you made, that you're the creator. That's the person who made that character up, So I always encourage that, and it's not necessarily the best sales tactic. I mean, you could make a lot more selling Superman at your table, but it's like, to pitch someone your character is the goal, and it's like that's what makes it worth it, even if I sell nothing. But I used to sell the fan prints, and it would go good, and I'd be selling them, but there was never a connection with the person at my table, because they know I'm not the creator. They'll just like go on about how cool this anime is that we both like, that they're buying the print. I'm like, yeah, I have nothing to do with that anime. I'm a fan of it too. It's just a whole different dynamic. But
I wish I could sell fan art, but all my art sucks. Because it does. I'm a writer. I can sort of draw. I can draw, but not up to my own standards. So
it's true but he hires good artists.
I do hire good artists.
As a matter of fact, it's true. He sucks.
Well, because Joe knows, I illustrated the whole first issue of my series, and then I spent a bunch of money having somebody else re-illustrate it, because
after issue like 4 or something like that?
Because I was not happy with my own art on it. So
I even when I read the first issue, like I remember reading the first issue, the one you drew, but when you had it redrawn and I read it again, it was the same exact story. I was like, oh,
because Adrian, who's the current artist on my book, is just freaking amazing. So
like all the same things happened.
Well, he was even copying like the panel layout, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you don't have to copy the panel layout. I did that myself, and I'm not great. So you just do whatever you want to do.
I mean, even the scene when she's in her like normal street clothes, when you did it, I was like, okay. Plus, I didn't understand her correct age when you drew it,
Yeah.
because to me that she seemed like grade school almost.
Yeah. Not
And
the
and
best.
when he drew her in that same scene where she had that what, Aikido sword,
Yeah, the
I was
kendo
like,
sword. Mhm.
dang, she looks cool in her street clothes. I was like, there's a whole different vibe that I'm getting from originally, and it was the same exact story. He had drawn, or no, it was Brian Dawson who drew issue 2, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it really matters. It really matters for the tone and just the age of the characters and the
Well, and
seriousness of it.
that's my advice to people who want to start doing comic books is, I couldn't wait for an artist to come along that I could afford or who could help me do it. I had to just start myself, and that's the best advice I can give anybody is,
Yeah,
just start.
Start
Don't
it.
wait. Yeah, don't wait for the perfect art or the
Yeah,
perfect
it's never
timing
gonna
or the
happen.
perfect script. If you have a thing and you want to start making it, just do it.
Yeah.
And you can always go back and tweak it later.
Yeah.
But it's important to
So
just
many
get it
people
out.
don't start.
Well,
You
that's
know,
actually one of my T-shirts that I have on my Red Bull,
you
Red
do.
Bubble page. Is like it says start, and it's like a power button. Just start, no more excuses.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes.
So,
And it's hard. I would tell everybody whenever I see someone do art or do a book, I'm like, I know what other people don't know, that was a lot of work, and you probably went through a lot of different emotions trying to get it finished.
yeah. I do want to tell you one story about that show. Is interesting. Is that um, 2 tables down from me was the guy that actually created the original Mortal Kombat dragon symbol.
Weird.
And there's an interesting story, and it kind of sucks for him
Mhm.
that basically, he doesn't own the rights to that symbol.
I
Obviously,
bet. Yeah.
Warner Brothers or whoever owns, I don't know who it is, NetherRealm Studios, they own the rights to that symbol. So they're basically sending him cease and desist letters to stop him from going to shows and doing art for people with that symbol because they say they own the symbol even though he created the symbol. And selling fan art is not necessarily illegal, but they're just being punks about it. But he came over to my table to introduce himself to me, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool, But he was telling me that, so I just wanted to come over and see your art because your art is really good. And there are people that were coming over to my table telling me about your artwork. And I'm like,
That's cool.
I just like, wait, what'd you say? Rewind that. I'm like, and then across from me, where the voice actors were, there was this one guy, I forget his name. His name is Christopher something. He's also he's played a role in the Days of Our Lives, the soap opera, and I recognized him from there. He came over to my table, was like, "Man, thumbs up! Your art is really good, man. Appreciate."
Was this at Gaming Classic?
This was Gaming Classic.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of famous people around me. I mean, they had a wrestling match that was like down on the other side of the room. It was a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to go back there. But
really?
A lot of
people keep telling me to go to that, and I'm like, what? You'd need gaming art. Like,
well, no. I mean, I didn't really have any game art. I mean,
really?
I mean, most of the stuff that I sold was not gaming related.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I'm pretty sure you could, but they had the artist alley was kind of, Wisconsin Center. The artist alley was kind of like in the hallway part.
That's what I saw, because only person I saw who was there was Archie, and he obviously shows his table, and it was in the hallway. I was like, did he only like? But now you're explaining that's where all the artists were, right? In the hallway.
That's where I would say most of the artist alley was there, because
Yeah.
inside the actual convention center area, they had more people selling, games, props, and
Yeah.
stuff. And they had the game room, obviously, the other convention center.
Okay.
But the artist alley was in a hallway, and it was a pretty significant space, and we could sit where we really wanted to,
Oh wow.
So it was good.
Okay. Yeah, people tell me about it every year, and it just I never thought it applies to me. So I'm like, what's the deal? But maybe I should check it out. A lot of people go there.
It's not expensive to get in there.
Okay.
It's easy to
Well,
get down.
and it's like, if it's a convention, if you pay for the space, they'll let you do it. It's like there was a masseuse at our down a couple booths from our booth at the last Comic-Con. It's like, okay, are you trying to have anything to do with comics or anything? No, we're just a masseuse.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were like right next to us, but we totally scored because the table next to us didn't show up, and so we asked the person who ran it, hey, if they don't show up, can we take their table? So we expanded, like mega expansion. So we just kind of took over that whole section.
What show was that where we actually got tables right next to each other? Was that C2E2?
Oh yeah, that was C2E2 way back in the day.
Nice. I've always wanted to go to C2E2. I was gonna go for my 30th birthday, and then that was when COVID happened and they shut everything down. So
I was gonna go just to go this year, but then Unicron.
Yeah. So I know it sucks. Well, like, it's funny how it's like some of the big shows they shut down, and the smaller shows they keep going. So it's like we're lucky we got like that. I would have went to the Milwaukee show, but nobody else wanted to go, and then I just kind of like lost interest in going. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of single people out there. Just one guy or one girl sitting up their own little booth. I get bored. I need somebody to talk to. I can't, even if they're just hanging out. And I think the year before that I went with my brother, so he was helpful. So I mean, at least I had somebody to go with. But like a lot of times people can't go because it doesn't work out for their schedule.
We're getting some good comments in the comments.
Yeah. Caleb, do you know Caleb? Is he? I'm just checking if he's one of Evan's artists.
He's not one of my artists.
No. Okay. Just checking. Let's see. James Hill. I have my own book I'm working on right now. That's just being done as I get time between projects. It's hard to start your own project. You get attached and you want to live up to your own expectations. Yeah, you don't want to get caught up in your own mind where you're working on it, forever because you're trying to make it as like every panel has to be the best panel and every dialogue has to be like the most amazing, insightful statement, and you don't want to get wrapped up in your own perfection.
Finished is better than perfect.
Perfect. So I have that.
That's a
right
t-shirt.
There you go.
Right here.
I said it and it became real on Joe's screen.
So I thought it was accredited to Jack Kirby because he said it in an interview on a radio show, and when he was still alive. Now I don't know if he was quoting someone else, but I accredit it to Jack Kirby.
My second biggest piece of advice, and this is especially for indie creators, is as soon as you possibly can, get out a beginning, a middle, and an end. Because there's so many books out there, they have like one issue, and they've got it out, and then that's all, ever, for like a decade and a half. And so, that's my second biggest thing, because it's going to be hard for you to get a fan base or a readership that's interested in your work if you only have chapter 1 or act 1. And so even if you just have to condense your story down to 3 issues, to get it done, Because that's kind of what I did. When I wrote Black Blossom, I was like, okay, I want to get this out, but I also wanted to have a beginning, middle, and end. So everything I want to say in this whole story is in the first 6 issues. And then now that I finished with that, I'm like, okay, let's see what else we can do. And now it's more like an ongoing book. But I did what I set out to do, and you can read those first 6 issues and get your beginning, middle, and end. And I'm hoping that's a satisfying experience for the readers.
I also tell people that, you know, you have to decide like what you are. Are you an artist? Are you a writer? Are you a creator? Now, a creator could be a non-artist and a non-writer, and they have this idea, and they hire a writer and they hire an artist, and they're the creator. But let's just say they know their writing kind of sucks. So they're still the creator of this concept. Now, I know some artists that are creators also. They write and draw their own story too. But then I know some that are artists, but they know their writing sucks. So they hire a writer, or vice versa. They, like Evan, he's a writer and he's like, I'm going to hire an artist, and then he makes his books. And a lot of times I've, even though I'm drawing stuff all the time and coloring other people's books and doing all this art, I've realized that I have decided to identify as a creator, because I'll have a book over here that I didn't draw and someone else wrote for me, but I didn't have time and I didn't want it drawn in my style, but that's still my book. I created that book. So I realized that I am a creator. I could easily, let's say I was had tons of money, I would just hire artists all over the place to draw all my stories like crazy until I had like hundreds of issues out everywhere. Just because there's artists that are faster than me. It might take me, 6 months to color a book, and I'm like, man, I could have just hired somebody to do that if I had just money for, but so I realized I don't have to be the artist. I'm the artist to save money.
Yeah.
Anything you can do, aside from if you're like a horrible writer, then don't try to save money on that. At least hire somebody who'll do it for free. That's a little better writer. But that's just my advice.
I've been hired by several people in our company to write things for them, and I've loved it. So if you ever anybody listening, if you ever need a writer for something, hit me up. I love writing other people's characters,
which is really nice. Like I'll come up with something. Like I remember when we were doing that like beginning of the universe story. I'm like, Evan, I have this concept and I want it to like be super cool, but it's kind of an intimidating thing to write the beginning of the universe. And like I want it to kind of be like insightful, but also incorporate our characters and everything like that. And he's like, oh, I got it. I'll work on them. Like, oh, good. Because I couldn't figure it out, but I know I wanted to do it. So that's like an example. Yeah. And even like, like your story, Biblical Proportions, like, I'm like, I ended up writing the first issue because the writer that was having do it was taking forever. And, but then I was like, I'll continue the rest of the stories. I'm like, oh, good. Cause this is so, what's the word? Not intimidating, but like also like, what's the word? Just it's so much responsibility with like all these characters to write,
and the continuity and stuff.
What if I screw it up? What if this doesn't make sense? Because when you're dealing with like 50 characters and they're all from different books, you're like, does this make sense? Like,
see, and I love that stuff.
Yeah. See,
I'll sit down with the charts and I love it. I love it.
Yep. Yep.
What I did with my Erg the Battler book, because I didn't have, the colorists I work with were working on other things. I'm like, I'm going to release this in black and white, to start with. And then later, if I get more money, I'll come back and release a color edition. So,
I think
anything
it
you
works
have
in
to
black
do.
and white because it's like that ancient, almost like, because I believe the original Conan books were black and white.
Well, the artist who's doing that is Samir Samayo. He's really good. He's got like a real gritty, classic comic book style that just it looks kind of like it would go well with that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle original black and white book, and it's pretty great. Yeah. There you go, kabam!
Yeah, I always was like telling people, and people know that I'm the guy who's like, don't release it black and white, make it color, because if you let's just say the Black Blossom, she's got that the purple trim that glows, and like her tech is this bright purple, and it's like without the colors, there's a lot you're losing. But with Erg, I'm like, it's already a gritty, ancient fantasy thing, so the black and white makes you more like pulpy.
Well, color is ideal, but the most popular comics in the world, manga, are never in color, and crazy. So that and that's always like either one person or like two people working together and doing it.
Yeah.
And so like to me, those two pieces of advice I shared earlier, just start and then get the beginning, middle, and end out. You can after you get your thing out, you can always sell it and then make money and upgrade it later to an even better product. I mean, like you look at Bone, it was all black and white, and then it got so famous and applauded that he's gone back and colored the whole thing. Okay, and so, I
know. I think I used to collect the old school Tick. That was always black and white. I used to, and then like I can't remember some of the other ones, but back in the day, I remember it was always like very expensive to print your book in color. Now it's not an issue. So it's like once digital presses became a reality, it was like, why wouldn't you do it in color? Go as like
because you can't afford a colorist.
That's still an issue. Yeah.
And that's why I don't.
Once you've seen, especially if you've seen a lot of it, once you've seen the characters in color, your mind automatically transfers that, even if it is black and white. Because when I'm reading, for instance, like if I'm reading Dragon Ball manga, when I see the color, I automatically see that orange.
Yeah.
Even though it's black and white, I can already see the colors, even though those colors are not there.
And obviously, the ultimate goal is to get the full book, the full story, color, lettered, all that stuff. But you have to do what you can with what you got. So if if I had to keep going, I would have just illustrated the whole Black Blossom myself, or release all of Erg in black and white. You just got to get it out there. But as I went, I was able to get lots of support through Patreon and whatnot, and I was able to upgrade and get. And I had some artists who were very kind and did a bunch of pro bono work for me, which is not normal. But that was a super nice thing that happened, and I was able to get like the first 3 issues out and then take it from there. So, just my advice for indie creators. Like, I know there's so many people I've talked to who have these ideas or whatever, and they're, like I said, they don't get it out, or they get the first one out and it never goes anywhere after that.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know. Hold on, let me just see here. What was? Oh yeah. Caleb says he's got a character called the Minister Keeper of the Light. I don't know if I've ever seen it. If you send a link, I can put it up on the screen.
Or comment with a photo. I think you can put that up.
Comment with a photo. Yeah.
I think so.
And then James Hill says, excellent advice. I was going to look for a cover, or no, our big like team, not team, but our poster with all our characters, and it's not even all our characters, but
it's a new poster that Joe just had done for the new year.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
pulling it up. Where'd it go? Oh, it's on my front screen. I'm gonna have to do the share screen thing. There it is. And then I got it popping up. And then share screen. Share screen. This one. Share. This one. But I tried to get a character. You guys can see it, right? Yeah. So wanted to highlight Stellar Man from Outed, which is Evan's character. Normally Black Blossom would have had a bigger scene, but he was already getting like the biggest center piece.
Yeah,
I
yeah, no problem.
I was kind of like trying to highlight characters like Stellar Man and like Pillow Man and Tin Soldier because they were pretty new and the creators of those characters put so much effort into their stuff.
And that's based on, or that's an homage to Kingdom Come.
Alex Rowe. Yeah. Yep.
Poster.
That ship turned out really good.
Yeah, from Frontera.
Yeah, and this is Ken's
Gilded
character. Yeah, Gilded Eagle, which is the guy they based the city off of. So that's actually his first appearance, I think.
He's like a past hero.
Yeah.
From the Red Talon books.
Yeah. There's a Blood Count, or actually his name's Count Blood, but the book is called Blood Count. Sorrow. This is actually Magnitude. Greg Waller's character from his Magnitude series that was from Ape Entertainment that he did. But this is his revamp of what the character looks like. So he's working on that and hope to be able to feature that soon.
And his artist is Olan Orig, who is just a super realistic, detailed artist. Did a great job with this
we
stuff.
use them sparingly when we have certain things that, you know. This is a Kai, or no, not a Kai. This is Kosanta from Killer of Kings. There's a new character of mine called Pentecost. The Junior's character, Spirit Monk. Yeah.
From the Ebon Guard series.
Yep. Hey, Evan, can you take over for a second? I have to check on my son.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are you a Marvel or DC guy? Or neither?
Right now, I'm not either because I'm kind of scared of them where they're taking their comics these days. But
yeah. But typically in general.
That's really a good question. I don't think I've really pondered on that. Because I think I like an equal amount of characters from both universes. I think that the MCU has kind of colored my view of Marvel in the past 10 years. I mean, I've always liked Marvel, but I think that now because a lot of characters, I'm not a comic book buff. I don't know a whole lot about comics. I have a cursory, knowledge of comics. But I get to know a lot more of these characters through the movies. And I'm like, these are some really cool characters and these some really nice story arcs and character development and stuff. So I would say probably I'm more of a DC than Marvel. If I had to pick one or the other, I have to say DC. I don't know. I just flip a coin. I'll just say DC for the sake of saying it. Pick
nice.
We were just talking about the Superman season 2, which we really liked the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when he senses something and he's like, when he's like, they show him like cruise like to the other side of the globe, and like that's so far, and he's moving like he's there in like 20 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah.
And it's cool because you see him, and then he's gotta slow down because he's going so fast over, and then he's gotta like slow down, and you see like just the water like ripping from the
Well,
speed, and then
the visuals in this show
that's so
are
cool.
just. I
Yeah.
can't believe it's on TV. Like
Yeah.
it's movie level.
When he was
stuff.
picking up the sub, like I was like I like had like goosebumps from it because it was like so awesome.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where he was, and I realized they purposely didn't tell you. I'm like, he's like in China or something. But then when the military came, they're like, you fished out a nuclear sub from North Korea.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's where he was. And I was like,
Well, and I love
dang.
when the guys on the sub were like, "Superman saved us!"
Yeah, that was a little
Like,
cheesy. It's usually never cheesy. That show's like never
no,
cheesy.
come on, that was not cheesy.
Yeah,
That is
it was
exact.
cheesy. It was a little cheesy.
No, that is exactly how you would react. Because what are the odds that you're the person that Superman is going to come save on the other side of the planet? You're for sure going to die, and all of a sudden you look there and there's Superman. That is exactly the reaction you would have. I thought it was great.
I didn't necessarily think that they would. Well, yeah, I guess whoever saves you, you're grateful for who has ever saved. But I didn't know if they were like, oh, shoot a.
No way.
No.
That was exactly how you would react in real life. I didn't think that was cheesy at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But otherwise, I think Lois does a really good job.
Yeah.
I didn't like any of them when they first appeared on Supergirl. I'm like, worst actors, worst selections of characters.
Oh, the
They
Superman
look
guy was great on
awful.
Supergirl.
Didn't
Tyler.
like it. I thought
he
it was
was
awful. It was like the dude went through a metamorphosis when he got his own show. I was like, he's awesome.
I think it's the same.
100%.
The costume is definitely better in the new show than it was on
better,
Supergirl.
Yeah.
But the acting, he did a great job on Supergirl, I thought.
I thought it was an odd way to portray Superman, but yeah, I mean, when he had the stubble and he just got more chisel and he got more of like, this is who I am, this is how I'm going to. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's very Superman. I
liked it
100%.
I liked it on the in Supergirl when he first showed up and like the DEO has kryptonite and he gets real ticked that they've got kryptonite and he's like, why are you
I was not into that episode. I don't know. That first episode, episode 1, that was great.
Of Supergirl?
No, Superman. I thought did we shift to Supergirl? No. Sorry, I thought we were still talking. No, I said the first episode of Superman and Lois was so good. I was like, I think I watched the first 5 minutes like 12 times or something like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. So that's on every Wednesday or something like that?
Tuesday.
I don't know. Tuesdays, okay. I'm glad it's back and I'm glad it's still good. I think I don't know, it's really weird that they're taking the alternate daughter, because she was married to John Henry Irons in the other universe. That they're treating her like she is her daughter from another universe. I think it would be awkward because John Irons was married to Lois in another universe, and now he is inviting him to live with so you're like inviting the person who used to be married to your actual wife from another dimension. It's just weird because you're like,
but he had he had all last season to work that out and get over it.
Totally get that, but it's still awkward. Like it'd be like if you're like, hey, your wife's old ex-boyfriend is going to be staying with you guys for a while. You'd be like, okay. It's just weird because it's like, he still likes Lois because she looks exactly like his Lois from his world. So it's like, hey, don't make any like eyes at her or anything. It's like, it's just be weird. I just think it's weird.
I like that they're putting Natalie in there though, even though I don't know why they changed her name to Natalie, but I hope we get like that she gets her Steel suit and
Yeah,
costume because
because
that's a
she
cool
became
character.
Steel. The only, I mean, yeah. See, I like Steel's face helmet because it like never moved. It's like permanently. It's just a face. But
Mhm.
like when they had her as Steel, like her face was exposed, and it's like I'm like, oh, it's like a whole
Well,
different.
no, Steel's faceplate in the comic book doesn't make any sense because it does move with his facial expressions.
Oh,
Um, and
I
it's like,
thought it was like
how is that
frozen.
working? It makes no sense at all.
Okay. Also,
So
his suit in the comics looks extremely low tech, but
yeah,
yet he's like this super genius who can make any kind of technology. I'm like, then how come your suit looks like it's a tin, like just
well,
frozen piece of metal with lug nuts put in place?
obviously it is super high tech because he's able to move around in it
Fly and
because it does,
it
it
should weigh
doesn't have
like
any.
tons. Yeah.
Exactly, he doesn't have any joints, and it's moving with his facial expression. So
You're right.
he's
It
doing
has
something
no
with it.
joints. It just looks
Yeah,
like liquid metal where his
yeah,
biceps move. Yeah, yeah. It makes no sense, I guess. But I actually thought his hammer was explained really cool in the
yeah.
show
And I
because
think
I
that's
always
all made up
viewed it
just
as a
for the
hammer.
show and not the
Yeah,
comic books. But
where it
it's
has
great.
like accelerated momentum that the longer, the
It's
more
thrown.
it's thrown, the more unstoppable. And I think it keeps multiplying in like weight
Yeah,
behind it. Like it it would just keep getting what like almost heavier and more
forceful or whatever.
momenting energy. Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah,
so basically it was hammer was invented to be able to hit Superman so ridiculously hard that it would be equal to a Superman hitting him
yeah.
like a
And
full head.
I just hope that they this season they give him the Superman cape also
I don't
because
think they'll
that's
do that.
I
But
hope
I
they do.
mean, yeah,
That's a cool part of Steel's costume.
yeah, the suit was it was more generic, but I actually liked its first incarnation because I actually thought it was Lex Luthor, and I thought it was Lex's power suit.
Yeah,
But
I
it
don't
looked
like it.
just like
It looks like the Master
a
Chief.
Halo. Yeah, it looked
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, can they do that? Because it's almost like an exact replica.
Oh, speaking of which, they just came out with a trailer for the Halo show that they're making
Oh,
finally, and it looks great. It looks very cool.
huh. Hmm.
Guys, I've got to hop off.
Oh, okay.
It's 11 o'clock here in
That's true.
Indiana, so
In
I will
Indiana.
talk to you guys later. Happy birthday, Joe,
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so
and
much.
we'll talk later on the chat. Nice to
Okay,
meet you, man.
sounds good.
Nice to meet you too, brother.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, see you guys. See ya. You got anything you want to talk about, Antonio, or otherwise we can wrap it up. But anything goes.
Um,
Anything you're drawing, or anything besides the conventions, but like.
well, I mean, I'm working
drawing or-
on a whole bunch of stuff, but everything is in flux right now. I don't have anything concrete. I'm working on several children's books. I'm still.
Mhm.
I've decided I'm not doing any comic book stuff. That's not. I'm not
Mhm.
going that route.
Okay.
I'm looking more towards games
Yeah.
and possibly movies.
Yeah, it's good to focus on stuff. I mean, I got advice from this one writer who had me like sit at his table and he just like talked to me and he said he said, so what are you doing with your stuff? And I said the whole thing like, I could do games, I could do movies, I could do blah blah. He's like, but what do you it'd be great if you could do all those things, but what do you want to do? And I said, well, I mean, comics right now. He's like, then do comics. Like, do that. And if it's like Mike Mignola, who did Hellboy, he didn't make that comic to then make a movie. He just wanted to make a really cool comic. And that was it. And if they make a video game off of it, awesome. But and it's like, and he said, if you want your creations to be video games, then spend all your time researching how do you pitch ideas to game companies, how do you make game, or if you're doing a novel, don't write a comic. And if you're doing a comic, don't write a novel. And if you want to do a movie script, then learn how to do movie scripts and learn who to send it to make the movie. Don't do a comic. So he's like, decide what you want to do. Those other things might come, but decide what you want to do. And I said I want to do comics. And he's like, good, then do comics. And I thought that was good advice. So it's like,
That is good advice.
there's nothing negative being said about being a video game artist or pitching to a movie company, but what's being said is pitching to a movie company is a lot of work, and writing movie scripts is a lot of work, and finding out how do I get to talk to someone to pitch a movie, that's going to take a lot of research. But you could be using that time to figure out, how do I talk to video game developers, and so it's kind of like you almost have to pick your battle and then dig into that, and then you'll know the most of how to do that.
Right.
Yeah, and it just helps.
I chose the video game route because I have links to that industry. You
Yeah.
know, going to MATC and being a part of the animation program. You know, most of my instructors all worked for major gaming studios before they came to MATC.
Mhm.
And one of them,
Well, I know Ravensoft is pretty close. It's in like Appleton or something, or Madison, one of those two.
it's right outside of it's Middleton or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. It's right outside of Madison.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
That was funny because I was at some show. It was like, you ever do those shows where you're like, I can't believe I did this show? Like, it sucked. But like, there were like these two girls. I say girls because they seemed young. And I was like, hey, these are really cool. Like, I liked their art. And they're like, oh, yeah, we work at Ravensoft. I'm like, oh, well, that's crazy. Like, I didn't know you could just work there. Like, it seemed like something like famous people would do. Didn't seem like just a job or something. And I'm like, dang. But I know nothing about that industry, but I like try to I don't know, apply there, whatever you would call it. But it was like really difficult to get anybody to pay you any mind whatsoever. So I just realized it was something I didn't learn. Like, I know everything about the comic industry, but I don't know anything about the video game industry. So like, if they even asked me a couple questions, I'd just be like, huh? Like, I wouldn't even know. I know, like, if you ever like follow like Trent Kanuga on YouTube, he gives a lot of great advice because he's worked for every video game company there is, from drawing backgrounds to character designs to doing his own games to doing everything. And he straight up tells you all the answers to all the questions and all the secrets. This is how you do it. This is what you show them. This is how you get hired. You show them this. And like, he just straight up tells you.
I'm gonna get a link to that.
Yeah. I'll send you that. And to me, it's kind of interesting, but like, I'm not trying to get in the video game industry, but I totally get that this is like not only amazing art advice, but it's like, boy, he's just straight up telling you how to get hired. So that's pretty awesome. Like,
Yeah.
like he would say, okay, here's what you have in your portfolio. This stuff. Okay, you need to have a whole bunch of these. And I'm like, I'm not going to draw all these turnarounds and this and that, but like, he's telling you this is how you get hired. I just sent you the link.
Okay.
So that's good stuff, and what is, let's see, or dot, I don't know. Excuse me, but yeah, so I know that's a whole whole other world, and it helps to be knowledgeable. Like even if you're like, oh, I want to get on Netflix or whatever. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But now you got to figure out who are the agents that will entertain your scripts. Do you write decent scripts for TV show? It just you want to learn the industry. If you want to make card games, then you should like really know everything about card games because you're going to make them and that's what you're going to use your art for. So like know that industry because I know comics and that's it. I don't know much anything else when it comes to other industries. So but I know splitting, I want to do this and this and this. You might get all of those, but you might want to master the ins and outs of one of the industries.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of like what starts off as a comic usually spins off into a
Yep.
movie, and then a cartoon, and then a video game, and then a
It's very helpful because people can go, oh, so well, this is what it looks like. Um, here's the characters. This is what it looks like when they're doing stuff in their story. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but I understand like even if you had a bunch of issues out of a comic, it's very helpful when it comes to say pitching it to Netflix, but they're also going to want a professional TV show script. So you almost would have to almost hire a writer to interpret the comic into because they're going to want it to look 100% professional in their way in the script TV show script way. I know this one guy who he's had Netflix pick up 5 of his um TV show pitches. Now that's a lot. And he's like, yeah, they've rejected about like 100 of my scripts. So he's like, I've been laughed out of the room. I've been told that it's garbage and trash and that I basically wasted their time that day. But he also has apparently 5 pickups from Netflix is like hardcore. That's like you're like a major player when you have that under your belt. But
Yeah.
he still, I mean, tomorrow he can pitch them an idea and they'll say get out. But he's also knows how to like get them to meet with him and sit down for lunch which he pays for. So there's like all this like that might be extremely common knowledge to somebody who pitches to Netflix constantly. That might be like very common knowledge. But those are just little tidbits and other people might have similar stories in the video game industry which I know nothing about. But that being said, anybody might get picked up, for any of these things. So it's good to at least start somewhere and keep pushing in that direction. Only thing is like when you get stuck in that, it's got to be just right, and then it never comes out. And that's not you, but I'm saying just other people. They want to keep making it better and better and better and better, and then they're in a retirement home and they never put out their thing because they're still trying to make it perfect.
I there's a motivational speaker named Les Brown
Mm-hmm.
who once told this story. I don't know if he came up with this, but I remember hearing him saying he's saying that imagine that you're on your deathbed,
Yeah.
and around your deathbed are all the talents that you never used,
Yeah.
and they're all looking at you, and they're saying, "Man, why didn't you go for it? Why
Yeah.
didn't you try? Why didn't you, at least try to put me out there?" Now we all gotta go to the grave together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I decided to make it my mantra for 2020 to finish everything that I started.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's well.
I
I don't
still
care.
have that. Yeah.
I'm just going to finish every single thing that I've started.
Yep.
And if nothing else happens, at the end of the year, I could say I finished everything I started.
Yeah. I still have that. I still have, you know, one-shot projects that I created in high school that are still there. And I'm like, that's on my list. I'm going to finish that book too, even though I don't need to. Because, like, if I never do it, people wouldn't even know that it was something that I never finished. But I know very much that I always want to do this. There's like 10 different projects. And I'm like, it would be my goal to get all those ideas out. And even I never have to come up with anything else, because even if I could just get all of those, there's so many different ideas that even if people don't even like them, at least I'm like, I finally got that story out.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, everything takes a long time. If somebody said to you know build a house, you're like, okay, I'll get on that. And it's like every little step, electricity, the digging the basement, and then it's putting up the structure, and then changing things. And you're like, man, this is taking forever. It's like you almost don't want to do it afterwards. But
Which is like,
everything takes a lot of work. Every art piece, people have no idea that you didn't just whip it together, that you were like, I scrapped this a whole bunch of times. And
yeah,
then you're like, this part was a surprise. And I was like, wow, this looks really cool.
right.
And then people were like, oh, that's nice. And like, it's more than nice. Do you know how I just came up with this? Out of nothing. I came up with this out of nothing. And it wasn't even going to look like this when I started. Like I did this piece for, it was actually going to be a bigger piece, but it was going to be it was my Christmas artwork. And it was going to be there was going to be more to it, but I was running out of time. And I let me share this screen here. Sure. um this one. And it actually changed into something completely different. The whole background and the whole quotes and the whole like green energy and everything like that. But and the light turned out really cool and everything. But like, it was going to look completely different, but I was running out of time, so I came up with a different concept. But I wanted to do a Saint Nicholas picture, and just make it like really like um lend my own interpretations and stuff. But like, people wouldn't know like everything I went through to come up with how that was going to look.
Well, that's the tragedy about all artwork, is that people
Yeah.
don't understand what people go through
Yeah.
in order to make that stuff happen. I was looking at this one YouTube page because I forgot what this topic was about, but she was giving people advice about
Mm,
art,
mm.
and she was talking about what she was actually referring to was photo manipulation, and
Oh, huh.
talking about how um, that
Hmm.
is a very competitive field, because a lot of people are basically just taking photographs
Okay.
and then going to Photoshop and then like putting a filter on there,
Is it like models or something like?
watercolor, and then selling it and saying that, oh, I painted this.
Oh,
And
okay.
she's saying that, but I already knew about that. But what she said, that she just called it digital art
Hmm.
and left it at that. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because it's bad enough that when you tell people that you use your computer to do this, that they automatically think that you just pressed a button and then this
Hmm.
picture just happened.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
No.
when
No. Because like, I mean, I get like arm cramps from just like, here's my pen, and it's just like, oh, drawing on the screen, and I'm like, I get just as like sore as I would on a piece of paper, except instead of using an eraser, I'm using like the Control X or something.
Right. And what kind of screen do you have? What kind of monitor you got?
I've had my old school forever. It's a Lenovo Yoga. I just draw right on the lap. It's a laptop. I just draw right on the screen.
Okay. Yeah, I just
There's
upgraded to
probably a Cintiq, right?
what's that?
Probably a Cintiq, right?
No, I can't afford that.
Okay. Well, I'm glad because I can't either.
I mean, Dan has one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an XP pen. It's pretty close to that. It's 2K, not 4K. It's a big screen. It's a
What
huge.
I know, like Adrian and Junior use they like use like an iPad, and they just straight up draw in the art programs that come with the tablet.
Procreate is pretty awesome.
Yeah. They just straight up use that and just start drawing right on the tablet. I don't like how tablet like I don't I don't like holding a tablet because I would never just hold like a drawing pad and start drawing like this.
Right.
And it's almost like you have to do that with a tablet. It's like you're like holding with my laptop, so I can have it where it's like a normal laptop with the keys here and the screen here. And then when I want to draw, I grab the screen and I bend it, I flip it, and so it's like now it's just like hovering in like a tilt, and it holds my hand weight without collapsing, and I just draw like that. I'm not laying on the screen, so I don't, it holds it just fine, and I just draw right on the screen.
Yeah. That's I have a Surface Pro 3
Okay.
just before I brought my old drawing tablet, which was a Goman PD 1537 or something like that. I gave that one to Jason. Um, this one is much better than that, and it's it is adjustable where I can set it up at the angle that I want.
Okay.
But there's I don't draw well on tablets, but I color well on tablets. I
Okay.
draw on paper.
Okay.
I just see it just feels like I lose the energy
Then
when
what do you do when you have to color? Do you scan it?
no, I mean well if I'm drawing on paper, yeah, I scan it to my computer. Otherwise, like it I guess maybe it depends on the program that I'm using because I have several programs. I have Sketchbook Pro, I have Clip Studio,
Yeah.
and I have Photoshop.
Yeah,
So
I use Clip Studio for pretty much everything now. I have Photoshop, but that's more of like uh if I'm doing a cover and I have, let's say, the template of like the logo and then the title block and the barcode, like I'll bring the finished cover in and just drop it underneath because it handles layers so much better. Or if I'm doing something graphic-y, then I'll use Photoshop, even though you're supposed to use Illustrator, but whatever. But otherwise, Clip Studio does like everything, so I never usually have to leave that program.
yeah, I mean I've been too lazy to truly dig into Clip Studio to see all the things. The only thing I've done
Yeah.
that's outside of the ordinary is use their mannequins to
Yeah, I wish I actually knew how to like just do it. Like, oh, here's a scene and somebody needs to be like laying on the floor. Like I would totally like pose a model where they're like laying on the floor where it looks realistic, and then I would get the posturing. Like, let's say I want their hand like drooping like this and they're like this, but I kind of want it to be accurate, and like maybe this hand's way back here, and then
short.
this, like, the elbows out like this or something like that, so I could pose a model just like this and pitch it. um but then when I'm going over the fingers, they're going to be like blockier fingers, like how I draw with big knuckles, and like the shoulder, the arm, I'm going to draw how I draw like arm muscles here. So it'll look like how I draw anatomy, but I got this pose exactly how I wanted it. And there's this video where this guy is using all these um, models, and he's explaining how they're making a joke because his like roommate or friend is reading like the comments, and he's saying, "Oh, you just use live models. Isn't that just you're just tracing over blah blah blah?" He's like,
Trees.
"No, it actually looks nothing like my finished art because it's all colored and it's all like done up." And you look at somebody like Alex Ross, he uses live models for everything. Has people actually wear the costumes. He takes photos of that, and that's what he paints off of. Like, you would think he could just bust that stuff out off the top of his head, but he uses models not only for the pose and everything, but he uses it for the lighting. So he'll set up the lamp so it's hitting the light right where, and then he paints that. I'm like, but then you think about painters, you think about famous painters, and a lot of them, old school ones, would go out to the mountain or the lake and start painting it because like they want to get it right when the sun is shining on. They're trying to draw paint it exactly how they want it to be captured. And Alex Ross, using live models, he knows he wants the light to reflect accurately, so he actually sets it up for that. So, if you got some weird pose, it's going to look better if you have one of those mannequins, but I mean, if you're literally drawing the nose and the ears exactly like that live model, that kind of sucks.
Mhm. I
I
mean,
would
if you want
say,
that's one thing, but if you're
yeah.
just do another character, that doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's what I'm starting to learn is how to deconstruct what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I look at someone or something, and then I look at, okay, what shapes are making up this thing or this person? Is it a circle? Is it a square, a triangle, trapezoid, what have you? I draw it exactly how it looks, and then I draw it again from memory, and then match up what I drew from memory to what I drew from actually looking at it. And that helps me to get build up muscle memory so that way when I need to draw something, I automatically know how to do it versus having to look at a reference picture.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult to when there's some weird pose. Like if somebody told you, "Can you draw me a mountain goat?" Now you have a vague, you're like, "Well, they kind of look like sheep. They got horns. Oh, they got hoofs or something. Do they have tails? I don't know." You're gonna have to look up because I'm paying you to draw a mountain goat. And you're like, "I know what a goat looks like. Is it the same thing as a mountain goat? I don't know." You're gonna have to look up reference to see what it looks like, and then you go, "Okay, they got fuzzy hair. Well, this is how I draw fuzzy hair, so it's going to look like my style." You might have a really cartoony style, or you might have a like a Pixar type style, or you might have a very serious illustration style. But you're going to have to use reference. You're going to have to figure out, the the goats, like, did their legs bend backwards like some animals like that, or like how does it, you know you're going to have to figure it out. So when people say, "Can you draw," let's just say, I don't know, Azrael from Batman, you're like, "I kind of know what he looks like, but I'm going to have to pull up pictures of him." I vaguely realize, and nobody draws from imagination. Everything in your whole life has been like developed in your brain from seeing it before. So
Right.
you're like, I'm drawing hair like Dragon Ball Z because that's what I have watched my whole life. So my stuff looks like that. Or I'm drawing a dragon because my favorite dragon was from this cartoon, so all my dragons look like that. And you don't draw from memory, you draw from reference. Everyone draws from reference. But a lot of times this reference comes from that you've watched every He-Man episode at nauseum. So it's like that's what your stuff looks like. And that's your drawing from imagination. You're drawing from references that you have in your head, all these things you've seen your whole life that you thought were cool are
Every
retained.
every cool design is an amalgamation of
Yeah,
things seen
yeah,
or people that you know.
yep,
I mean, if you
yep.
think, like, for instance, you look at J. Scott Campbell's art, all of his women look like Annette Funicello.
No, I
So at
never knew
some
that.
point, he must have had a crush on her or
Mm.
something like that. She's made some kind of an impact on his life. Annette Funicello is like one of the first Mouseketeers.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I know like
she was in the Skippy, the peanut butter commercials in the 80s.
I've seen his either wife or girlfriends, and they're all pretty much look like his drawings. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I
So I
mean,
didn't
it's
know if
like,
that was an issue, but I know originally, way back when he first started, he drew very much like Art Adams.
hmm,
And if you look at J. Scott Campbell's like very early work when he first got hired at Wildstorm, and then you look at Art Adams, you're like, oh, it's almost indistinguishable. But then he got his own style as he became more animated, more like liquidy. Like he very much started changing into his own style, where he was originally hired to be like a Jim Lee clone,
mm-hmm.
and then he learned his own style that I don't know where it came from. I can't say. I have to ask him.
Well, like we just got to saying, is that you just see other stuff and it just starts
Yeah,
to morph into your style. You see, I'll take a little bit of this, a little bit
yeah,
of that, you know.
yeah. It's like I like big hands. Some people might think that looks weird. I like on my females, I like drawing big eyes. That's an anime influence, but I couldn't see drawing like very small eyes on women. I find that boring. And I might draw like why my guys are muscular because I find that like very powerful feeling of the character, and I always want that feeling when I look at my characters. So like there might not be as much variety or something like that because I'm not I don't enjoy like drawing like maybe like dopey characters that are like kind of sluggish or like ugly or whatever. But some people do like drawing that. I remember Todd McFarlane used to draw like all these different bum characters. They'd be all like big noses or really fat or big jaws or weird shaped heads. And he liked that. That was fun for him to draw all these like weird caricatures. Like I'm not into that personally, so then I just don't do that. I draw what I think is cool, and
Right.
it might not be what other people think is cool.
Right. Well, I mean, your gift is what you do the best with the least amount of effort.
Hmm.
So whatever you do, you can do better than anybody else, or mostly everybody that you know, with the least amount of effort. That's your gift. So if drawing the way you
Right,
draw,
right.
if that gets you juiced up to where you're excited that I'm going to draw this, or you're excited when it comes in your mind, you
Yeah,
just pops in your mind like, oh man, I can't wait. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
yeah, yeah. And it's I a lot of times I'm just coloring for other people, or a lot of times I'm inking pages that have already been drawn, and then but other times like I'm working on this cover, and you know I, I find the different things from coloring to lettering somebody's book to actually drawing something from concept. um, those are all different things, and it's like I can help somebody move, but that doesn't mean I am like this skilled house mover, like somebody who does it for a living. I can letter your book and it'll be okay.
Right.
But I wasn't trying to be like the best letterer. I was kind of doing it out of necessity. So like I can help you move your couch, but there's probably 100 people that could move your couch way better than I am, and I'm like dropping it, and I'm like, so it's like I can ink the whole book, and I'll see it as like, it's fine, I guess. Like maybe people don't see it as bad as mine, but like I'll hire a colorist to color my cover because I want that cover to be like on another level. And if it's my art, I need it turned up. I need somebody to turn it up.
How do you feel about that? As far as having a cover
Mhm.
that's showing art that's not representation of the art inside the book.
Well, like Evan has about 14 covers produced right now, and he's on issue 6 of Black Blossom. And I most of the covers are a different artist. So like I'd say like issue 3, 4, and 5, Adrian did the covers. And the other cover, there's like 5 other artists. Some he discovered this artist and he's like, oh, she has to draw a cover for my book. And then he'll hire her just because he was a fan of her art. And other people he's like, I wanted a classic, superhero art style, and this guy, he's going to do the next 2 covers. And I but then we also have books that, the covers are the same artist as the inside. Um, but if a friend of mine wants to draw a cover for my book and he's awesome and he does one, it blows me away. I'm like, heck yeah, this is the cover for issue 3. I can't wait to show people. The inside's going to be, I mean, how many times do you grab a Marvel or DC book and you're like, um, oh, guy who did the cover didn't do the inside. Or I've also had like where I've seen like a, let's say, a Marvel book and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Why didn't I ever check out this book? And I go and I grab the book. I'm like, oh, because this cover is like this weird painted realistic style. And I'm like, and I would say I would be against that. If 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 the comic is like cartoony and it's totally up your alley, but then they put like a hyper realistic painted style on the cover, I would be against that because the your audience, if they look through it, it's going to be this cartoon style, and you're not showcasing that on the cover. Or they're grabbing the cover thinking it's going to be this realistic style, and it's not. That's a ripoff. I consider that a ripoff.
That's
But
what
it's,
I'm referring to.
yeah. But let's just
Artwork,
say,
when
yeah,
if the artwork is similar or
similar.
close,
Yes.
that's cool. But when
Yes.
it's like a two completely contrasting art styles, to me, I think that to me that feels kind of dishonest.
I would agree. Yep, I agree on that. I'm trying to see if I had any examples, but like, yeah, I mean, if it's something that looks, vaguely cartoonish, and then the inside also looks like that, I think that's perfectly fine. Um, Trying to see if I got an example. If no, what's this one? So okay, well, I think this one was drawn by Adrian. Did this cover for
Mhm.
Black Blossom. Um, so obviously Adrian did not draw the inside, but it's gonna be this similar, more of a
Yeah,
animated style.
I mean, if the same level of color or attention to the color was put
Yeah,
in there, it probably would be passable. To
yeah,
be, it's the same.
yeah, yeah. A lot of times, people who aren't artists, but buy a book, they'll say, "Oh, I thought the cover artist was the interior artist." I'm like, how could you not see that it's complete? Like, when I say completely different, like way back when we did Dragoon, um Dan, Jason, and I each drew a different page and alternated through that whole book. And when people would buy it, they had no idea that three different artists drew that book. But to us, it'd be like, it's obvious, like it changes. In this page, you got like crazy angles and stuff. And this one, you got like a million characters, all like super detail. And this one, you got my art. but but people thought it was the same because it was all colored the same, and they're not artist minded. And that's another thing you have to understand when you're selling things like comics. um, you're not necessarily selling to other artists. You're selling to normal people who just want to read a book. So they're just reading. They're like, oh, he fell down. Okay. Oh, he pulls out a gun. Oh no. Okay, these people break in. That's crazy. Like, they're not analyzing, did you draw that table at the right angle? They might go, yeah, it's a table. I got it. It's gets broken. It breaks. I get it. Like, maybe you drew the breaking of the table really lame, but like, it was still like a moment where you're like, oh, they threw him through the table. Is he? Oh, he's knocked out. Oh, I get it. Okay. And like, they don't analyze, they're not analyzing because the product's already made, the comic. Now, if it didn't look like a table and it didn't look like he was thrown through it and it didn't look like it was made out of wood, they'd be like, what is this panel? Oh, it's a table. Oh, I had no idea that was supposed to be a table. I thought it was like a piece of glass or something. Well,
Right.
that you screwed up because now they don't even know what happened in that panel. But people, they say they look at each panel for less than 2 seconds.
Mm.
So if you're spending like 2 days trying to get this chair to look like it's made out of pleather, and to make sure you got the hinges on the recliner of the chair to make sure it's functioning correctly. I'm like, dude, you're obsessive compulsive and nobody's going to be looking at this. Like, artists aren't going to walk up to you like, man, I saw that chair you drew on that panel. Can I have your autograph? Like, nobody's going to do that. They're going to say, did I think that story was cool? Or did I think that story was boring? Or did I think those characters were boring? The art is a method to, like, if you want to be a movie director and you spend all your time trying to be this great director, but your movie sucks, no one's going to go, hey, that one scene, that shot was really cool. Your movie blows, but I mean, you wasted a lot of your time. But I caught those things that you did. It was really creative. And it's like, no, they're just gonna say you have a sucky movie.
Right. It's kind of like towards the end of the 60s and 70s of Looney Tunes cartoons where they didn't care anymore about the backgrounds. They just put like
Mm,
a solid block of color and drew some
mm.
lines and said,
You
okay,
didn't
that's
even notice it.
you didn't even
Yeah,
notice. If it's like
yeah,
Roadrunner or something, you didn't really didn't notice it because you're
yeah,
focusing on speed.
yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, if it was hanging in a museum and people were gonna look at the Mona Lisa forever and they're gonna stare at it, and this was this piece of art that you created, okay, I totally can see. You better make sure the thing is awesome and don't screw any part of it up, and make sure it's like, spend time on it. And you know I get that. And maybe that's something like a cover. Don't don't phone in the cover, because people will always look at the cover. and say this is this one book that's pretty cool, or that it's not, but this cover's really cool.
That's the whole.
Um, so yeah, I would say something like a comic cover is the equivalent of like a piece of artwork hanging in a museum, because you're going to see it and look at it and look at it and look at it and look at it for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like that's right. I mean, you know, when you're going from panel to panel, it's all about flow of telling the
Yeah.
story. It's not about, like you said, the individual. You know,
No.
I mean, if you may run across one that's like, wow, that's pretty cool,
A cool shot, like the money shot, yeah.
right?
Like
But
the
it's more
character's first being introduced in his costume for the first time.
right, or a new level of power or something that just happened.
Then you better like stop and show that, like show it up, you know. It's
Right.
it's all the whole parts of like, what was the part what's your favorite part in a movie, or your favorite part in a cartoon. It's like, I want to see He-Man transform, so make it like super awesome, you know.
Right. If I
So
really want to go over the top, I'm going to make
yeah.
a splash page, and it can take 2 pages to show this power up,
Yeah. Yep.
just to show how ostentatious it is.
Yeah.
But if you put in one little small box, the people, it's not going to be important. Like, well, you didn't care,
Yeah.
so why should I care?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Oh, I sent you some links. Those are some of the artists that don't blow smoke. They're straight up. Um, First one is Trent, and the other two,
The
they're
Mohawk guy, I'm familiar with him. I've
you
been to.
are. He don't mess around. He's like, look, people give this advice. It's stupid. Ignore it. Go to this. And I'm like, that is great. I like. And the other guy you may have seen a bunch of times, he's really funny, but if you can get past his sarcasm, which is actually really hilarious, he's giving like real advice that is he worked on the Voltron Legendary Defender series.
I know, I recognize his style.
Yeah.
I was trying to finger on where that came from. Like,
Well,
yeah,
he's not only an amazing artist, but he gives he gives like he gives like secret advice. Like, he'll show you how to do things that you're like, excuse me? How did what? And you try it and you're like, I just this is like a shortcut to drawing. I just blew my mind. Like it's like he shows you these shapes that you can use for everything, and it always gives you like a dynamic pose, or it always gives you like, he shows how to look at your favorite artist stuff and deconstruct it and understand. You can actually just steal people's styles like crazy. And
hmm
I'm like, oh wow. But he's also always touts, never draw from your imagination. Never do that. Always draw from reference. And all of his jobs he got from, like he would take screenshots from like Google Maps and then draw all these buildings from the backgrounds. But he knew how to like grid it all out. And he was like, and they're like, how'd you draw these buildings? He's like, well, it's from this shot. They're like, this is amazing. And he's like, I just I just went over Google Maps, and you know, and but he understood. Like, if you looked at these complicated shots, you'd be like, heck no, I'm not drawing that. But he knew how to break it down where
deconstruct.
it wasn't scary. So he's like, so here's this character. You're like, look at all these folds and these, scarfs and capes and crazy. Like, ignore all of that. You add that later. And he's like, just explaining that there is such simplicity under the most complicated drawings. And we know that, but the way he shows it, you're like, this is like some secret stuff. Like nobody teaches this at all. So that's why I appreciate him. Because and it's similar to Trent's stuff. He really gives this like legit secrets. Like if you do this shape, you're like good to go on everything. You're like, what? I didn't know that. Like they want you, or they'll say like teachers or whatever will be like, well, just draw all the time and practice and draw in sketchbooks and draw everything and just draw all the time. They said you will not get better doing that. You will just know how to draw the same stuff all the time and you'll never get better. They said you need to learn new things. You can't just draw 100 cars. You need to learn how to draw cars better. You don't need to draw 100 sucky cars or 100. He's like, you can learn all the names of the muscles, but that's not going to help you draw them better. And he's like, this is how you draw it better. And he's like, and you don't have to draw it 100 times. You just have to learn it once, and then you're good to go. And I like that. I like the not saying the same fluff that they've been talking about drawing for the past 100 years.
Right.
Same stuff. Draw all the time and learn the basics and stuff. I mean, there's something to that. I mean, if you don't know how to draw at all, that's like, yeah, I mean, you have to start somewhere.
Well,
But-
I mean, moving water never goes stale. So you have to keep learning. You have to keep moving.
Oh yeah. You can't go. Well, I already know how to draw that, so I'm not gonna. I'm like, yeah, but does your stuff you drew 3 years ago pale in comparison to what you drew yesterday? And if it doesn't,
Yeah.
and it might not even be something that a fan would notice. They'd go, no, I love that stuff you drew 3 years ago, and I love the stuff you drew today. Yes, but you should notice. You should notice. Well, I actually didn't know how to draw hands back then, but now I do. Or I never really like drew eyebrows correctly, and now when I look at them, I'm like, oh, what was I doing? And now I draw them like this, which is way better. And you're like, oh, those other ones, I'm like, oh, don't show me that picture. Like I don't know why I did them like that. As just an example, or like ears or something. You're like, oh, I used to always draw this line, which isn't even in ears. I don't know why I would draw that. I must have saw someone do that. And you're like, now I actually know what ears look like, and I draw them like this. And I would have never drawn ears like that, you know? So, yeah, I mean,
I'm mortified when I look at artwork from 10 years ago that I drew.
Right.
It's scary.
yeah.
It's even, and what it makes me feel like I need to find these people who actually bought these pictures and give them a refund.
Yeah. Well, I'll look through some of my old art, but I'll see some that I'm like, this was actually pretty good for back then. I don't even know how I did that. Like some things, it's almost like I either forgot or just like I was into other things or something, and I was like, this is actually pretty good. It like needs to be recolored, and it needs to be like this hand looks weird. But all in all, I still like this one. So I'm not saying it's everything. I'm saying it's certain pieces that I'm like, this actually, I like this still. I'd probably like redraw it, but like copy most of it. Something
Yeah,
like
I mean, I saw a picture, one picture I drew from a long time ago. And one of the things I struggle with now is lighting. And
oh, yeah, I still suck at lighting, so I don't even.
Yeah.
I won't even go near that. Like saying I know anything about it. Like I phone it in. I say I get my like I go to like soft light. No, what is it called? Soft light for the layer. Soft light, I think. And I just choose white and I just go tip of the nose, side of the face, top of the head, top of the eyebrow muscles, like cheeks, bottom lip, and like top of the shoulders. And I'm like, that's my lighting, baby. There it is. And it pops. You can see it. Like it feels like it just popped forward. And then for my shading, I'm like under the chin, under the nose, under the bottom lip, under the eyebrows, maybe side here, but anything that dips in, under the neck, under the collarbone, and it pops things out, and that's my shading. It's called I don't understand lighting theory 100%, so I'm just going to do it like this, and people will like it just fine.
Well, I mean, simplicity is a brevity of wit. I mean, or brevity is it's something like that. Brevity is a soul of wit. That's what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And you if it works for you,
Yeah.
then it's fine. It doesn't have to be because a lot of the stuff that we see on TV, a lot of cartoons and stuff, is not accurate at all.
No.
In the real world. The people like fingers are not in the right place. Look at the Simpsons. Nobody has chins, nobody has elbows, nobody has knees, but it's been on for 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be as long as it looks good.
Consistent helps too. Yeah. Yeah. If every other page now I'm trying to do realistic lighting, and then in the next page I just skip it, and then in the next page I'm like trying to mimic how so and so does lighting and color, and then in the next page, like why is this not lit, and why is this not in the shadow? It should be. Like that's like really easy. Then you start going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's embarrassing. But I'm consistent with how I shade and highlight, and just to the point of making it pop. Like I'm coloring my 60 page Crazy Nine story, and I'm gonna just show some of the. So I'm coloring the whole thing, and I'll just screen share, and I'm just trying to make things pop. So I'm just going through. These are all different styles, but I'm just trying to hit like the areas to kind of bring.
This is fine. I mean, this is
Yeah.
this is this is fine. There's nothing else that you need.
So like, okay, so all these people in background, right? It's like I hit some highlights in the back of their heads, top of their hair, and then I hit some shades on the sides of their body. This girl has a cell phone, so I shaded his back. So her cell phone pops up 'cause she's in front. Really subtle things, like nobody's going to even notice that. And it's like, I hit like highlights of her face, his knuckles, um, some of the folds of their jackets, um, and some of the parts of his muscles, and parts of his underneath, where his arm is in front of his chest, so it's casting a shadow, things like that.
I will say that no one will zero in on that.
Exactly.
It's like that shadow underneath the arm is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Nope.
But
Yeah.
overall, subconsciously,
Yeah.
you know that it's there, and it makes everything feel more complete.
Yeah, they're gonna be reading it, and they're gonna go, okay, that's a crowd of people. Okay, then this is happening. Okay, and then she says that. Okay, interesting. Oh, this guy gets hit. Okay, interesting. Okay, what's happening here? Oh, he's saying that. Okay, interesting. Okay, that's a cool jacket. Anyways, at least okay, I'm reading this. Okay, moving on. Now she's walking down the stairs. Got it. Okay. Now there's like cameo shots, like there's a secret starstruck cameo right there, but it's like You might notice that. I don't know. And then go down the stairs, they're talking, and they're like, "Oh, okay, interesting." But like, you get that she's separate from the crowd behind her,
Right.
and like that's my goal. And that like her hair is shiny in certain spots, that it looks more popping out and stuff like that. That's all I'm like going for. So it's like, as long as you notice that, spoilers. But I just wanted to like, and all the pages are in these blues and purples, which was my goal, for that, them to all look like that. but
Yeah, I mean, everything looks fine to me. I mean,
but again, like my coloring is like, I colored Red Talon #2, and that was all standard comic book colors. But I usually color out of necessity because I don't want to pay a colorist. I don't know if we lost everything.
yeah, you disappeared for a moment.
Yeah, I accidentally just shut my window and it like X'd it out. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we'll wrap it up. Tomorrow's Saturday, but getting late. Um, but yeah, it was good talking to you.
Yeah, it's good catching up and everything.
Yeah, we have to do it again.
But
Just
how often do you do these?
so for a while I was doing them weekly, and then I got COVID, and then it just like stopped. So like I thought, hey, maybe I'll do a show on my birthday, and it was just kind of like a random thing, and I just threw it up there. You know, I can have like a bunch of people on all at once, and I don't mind. I just talk about like whatever whatever show somebody's been watching, or whatever project they're working on, or whatever upcoming thing they're working on, just basically what we've been talking about. I just it's usually, sometimes I'll interview one person, so it'll be like, uh, it's on my YouTube channel, but it'll be like, tell me about, how you got into drawing, like the origin, why are you doing it, and then where are you now and what are you working on. So I'll like interview, you know individuals. So I interviewed like Mike Barron, creator of Nexus and Badger, and he's doing this police themed book. He was actually on Fox News promoting it, but he's already a legendary creator. I mean, he wrote like one of the longest Punisher runs. We're
Ooh.
talking in the 80s. I
Oh,
mean, he did like Punisher. I'm gonna pull this out of my butt, like issue 11 through 32, something like that.
right.
You know, and then he's written Star Wars comics. He's written uh like, I want to say X-Men, but I could be, but a whole bunch of stuff. So I got to interview him on my channel. So that was probably the biggest one. But then I'm on other people's shows. Like I was on Billy Tucci's show. I was on some other YouTube people's. But it's usually like, if I have somebody lined up that wants to talk about their book, I'll just do it. I'll just ask them off the top of my head, like, so what made you want to do this, or what, whatever. So that's usually how it goes. But yeah, I have different people I've interviewed on my YouTube channel. It's just Starcross Comics on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't have a set like every Friday night or something like that because I might be busy or I might not feel like I want to do it. But obviously, if I got something to talk about, I'll go on somebody else's show. But if somebody I know has something they're doing, I'll say, well, I'll interview you. You tell me when. And they'll say, well, I'm only available like Saturday at noon, and then I'll try and do that. So I like go to their schedule because I know it's really hard for them to schedule things.
Okay.
So that's how it goes.
You know, I mean, I'll pop in when I can.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. People can pop in and comment, and because then when I run out of things to talk about with that person, you might have something to say.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, you have a good night, and we're gonna. Where's my banners? I'm gonna end it. I didn't have to play any commercials. I have commercials.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I got a coffee commercial. Here, I'll just show you for fun. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Got
No,
the
it's funny.
music in the background.
I got one to kind of showcases our digital, like you can digitally download our comics, so it's like an iPad type of thing. I don't know. I'll show you.
Walking down the sidewalk, kicking my feet as I'm moving to the music. Step to the beat, I woke up today, canceled all my plans, and I stepped right outside with my guitar in my hands, and the notes became loud as the sound caressed the air, and I kicked it up a notch as I strolled without a care, cause I'm going down the road to a brand new place, and I'll get there with a smile on my face. Yeah, so lift me up, I'm moving on, singing and dancing while I play my song. Yeah, I'm having a good time, keeping it going. Come on, clap your hands and won't you sing along, and now let's take it up high. Give our dreams their wings to fly. Gotta keep the fire burning, keep the hope alive. They gotta keep it turning.
Yeah, so there's that too.
Those are professional commercials.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're pretty old now, but I'll probably do some new ones when I come up with another idea. But yeah, there's one I play at the end too when I shut down, and then when it goes, it's like a really quick hits the screen, and there's like a quicker version of the Starcross intro. But you can see it when I end broadcast, which is going to be right now. All right. Well, you have a good night.
All right, you too. Happy birthday once
All
again.
right. Thanks so much. All right. Take it easy, man. Bye-bye.